Today's the day that fans have been waiting for. Today, and for a review, we've got Star Wars: The Last Jedi on 4K Blu-ray. I won't get into any plot details, but this could possibly be the best 4K disc this year. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on the video and audio quality. Now for some tech specs. The movie was shot on 35mm, 2.8, 3.4, 6.5K, and IMAX. It's got a 4K DI. It's rated PG-13. Runtime is 152 minutes. Aspect ratio is 239:1. So if you're watching on a television, you'll get those black bars on the top and bottom of your screen. So how does the first Star Wars look in 4K? Well, I started off watching the standard Blu-ray, and I thought it looked very good, with just a hint of film grain, but I thought it was a little bit on the soft side. Then popping into the 4K disc, I was expecting to be blown away, but I came away thinking it doesn't look that much different than the 1080p version. Sharpness gets a slight boost with tighter and more refined textures. Articles of clothing like Luke's wool hood had some very discernible stitching patterns. Close-up shots of faces had good detailing and at times could look razor sharp. Background environments looked decent as well, with the slightest increase in detail over the standard Blu-ray. But those aerial shots of Luke's island of Acto were soft and nowhere near the clarity of island shots you'd get on discs like Planet Earth. HDR usage was there HDR in this? If there was, it was on the reserve side. Explosions had deeper shades of red, but never really popped or made me wince from being bright. Chapter 42's lightsaber battle I thought would be a real standout, with extreme glowing sabers, but the scene just looked average to me. The red background had a little more saturation, but the scene didn't have the pop of colors I was hoping for. The same could be said of Chapter 44's fight with Phasma. You think all the flames and explosions would be extremely bright and vibrant, but it literally looked just like the normal Blu-ray. Black levels at times looked great with very good contrast, and other times it could look somewhat muddy with little shadow detail. And for being a movie in space, you think those space shots would have stars jumping off the screen, but they never seemed to be a visual priority and would get lost in the darkness. In watching the Dolby Vision version, I didn't think it was that much of a difference between its HDR10 counterpart. Detail on some of the darker shots were a tad more visible, as were detail on some of the highlighted areas. The movie was also shot with a mix of digital and film, so there is a slight veil of grain throughout the whole runtime. I never found it distracting, but if you're expecting a clean 4K crisp image, you may have to look elsewhere. It does have that cinematic film look like the previous movies did, so I did like that aspect of it. Audio is done in Dolby Atmos, or was it? Because I didn't hear much coming from the high channels. And for being a Star Wars movie, this should be the pinnacle for immersive sound. I did note a couple of scenes where I heard distinct effects coming from above, like in Chapter 12, you do hear Snoke's ship coming at a light speed and stop right in the front high channels. And in Chapter 20, there were some echoing voices circling throughout the room during Rey's and Kylo's Force chat. But the Dreadnought attack in Chapter 5 had no movement going on up top, even with all the ships and lasers being shot in all directions, which was a major letdown. The same can be said for almost every other battle piece as well. There just wasn't anything happening in those height speakers. That being said, for just listening to it as a 7.1 mix, it was a standout with discrete panning of sounds moving throughout the soundstage and matching the on-screen visuals accurately. Bass levels went ultra low in Chapter 13 when Leia uses the Force, or any time the Force is used. It's gonna make your room shake. Soundstage was extremely wide, and the musical score sounded excellent and spread through all the lower channels. So if I was to rate the 7.1 mix, I'd have to go with a 9. But Atmos being the main attraction here, I'm gonna have to go with a 7. The bubble of immersive sound just wasn't there. For video, I'm gonna go with a 7.5. I had some high hopes for this, but it just wasn't the demo-worthy disc I was expecting. Sharpness and color got a modest boost over the standard Blu-ray, but it was nothing night and day. Also, if you're looking for a new reference disc to show off your home theater system, this isn't it. Now, if you're interested in grabbing this disc, I'll leave a link in the description below. It does help out the channel by using those links, which helps us bring you more content like this.
Yo!
Yeah. So, you just got done watching Last Jedi?
Oh, yeah.
I know what you thought about it. You thought it looked fantastic. What'd you think?